Travelers Championship at the TPC River Highlands.
Hot.
Rob Dibble Show with Ben Dardanelle, sponsored by Tito's Handmade Vodka, the official vodka of the PGA Tour, distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas. 40% alcohol by volume, namely 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly. It is a hot one, people.
Yes, the Tito's will be flowing all week long, and
on ice.
So will the water stations.
Yeah.
If you're coming out here and you're partaking, this is my PSA for the week because, I'm going to be like a lot of these people on Saturday and Sunday when our show's over. I hate to break it to you, you might have an adult beverage. Maybe two. But I'm going to break that up with a lot of water in between, before, during, and after. We have seen a lot of people out here that try to drink as much as they possibly can without filtering it with some water, and they are not in good shape and do not have the best of time.
No.
So my PSA, my advice to you is, if you are going to be drinking out here, which I know you are, and I'm talking to you out there, break it up with a bunch of water. And Nick and I were kind of bouncing around before the show started. We saw one, I know there's multiple, but one of the new hydration stations the Travelers Championship has put out here. You do not have to buy water when you come out here. They're not going to try to price gouge you to the point where if you don't buy water, you're going to die. They are going to make sure that you are 100% safe out here at TPC River Highlands. We got EMS, we got water stations, we got a lot of people to take care of you, but make sure you take care of yourself when you're out here in this heat.
And if you've got any relatives, especially the elderly, like my mom's 91, you tell them if they get in any kind of physical distress, they can dial 211. So 211 is the emergency number, and they will respond, and they will come help you, or 911, obviously, if you're really in distress. But the heat stroke, the heat exhaustion, fans aren't going to do it when it's over 100 in your house. You need air conditioning. You need hydration. So it's not just coming out here to the Travelers. Try to make sure your pets are inside. Try to make sure you try not to, overdo it with the yard work. This is like the reverse of shoveling snow, where a lot of people get themselves into trouble. It's cold. I can shovel all the snow I want. No, it puts a lot of pressure on your heart.
We're watching all of our guys, too. Did Cleaver not take a water? I told Bob to take a water.
No, I don't
Bob's
think he did.
walking out here, and he needs as much water as possible. We're going to have Bob Joyce,
One of
Adam
our sales
Giardino doing
executives.
out here, too. They're going to be doing updates. My biggest concern for our staff is hydration. That is number one key. Now, Dibs did get the power breezer going in our studio, which is really changed the game here on Tuesday, and probably going to be the thing in the next couple of days here at the Travelers Championship. But let's talk about the golfers, man. This is going to affect
They're not
the golfers.
sitting in a nice breezy tent like we are. They're out there on the course. They're practicing right now. Tomorrow will be 10 degrees hotter. But honestly, I think the golfers are used to it. They go to a lot of humid places down south. I think it's just for them, they need energy. They need to eat while they're golfing. They're going to be out there 4 or 5 hours walking. They do get to get some shade. They get to stand and wait for the next shot, things like that. So they can rest a little bit when they need to. But I think that is really going to play differently, because whenever it's windy here and it doesn't rain, it dries out the greens. And you try to drive the green and it bounces right off.
Thanks for bringing this up.
Pop,
yes.
and it's just like rock hard. So I know that the groundskeeping here is going to be amazing and try to keep everything perfect for play. But those are just some of the things. The hotter it gets later in the afternoon, dries out the course a little bit, and those are the kind of things, if you're like the second round guys that start at noon, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, it's different than the morning round.
That's what I was going to bring up. As Federico and myself, we like to go to the sports book every now and then. I was saying, keep your eyes on the 6 a.m. tee-offs. They're going to have a lot easier time
they're going to
than
score.
those noon tee-offs. So if you're trying to play any kind of Thursday or Friday sessions, make sure you know where your guys are teeing off before you place your bets.
Course looks gorgeous. Course looks
That's what
absolutely
Federico
gorgeous,
said. He's barely
man.
even seen it, man. Where were you today? Are you back on 9? I know you were popped out where you're actually supposed to park today.
I parked
you didn't
where
go
we're
into
supposed
the
to park. Listen, I'm a rebel. I like to challenge the rules and park. For like the first 5
you
years
like to
I
test
came
the
here,
limits.
the
like
first
to see how
5 years
far
I
you can
came
get.
here, you parked over by the clubhouse. The last 5 years we've parked on the backside of this course, which is it's closer to where we do our show.
Right.
So if you park in media, you need the media shuttle,
right.
and it's about a 5-minute shuttle over here. So for me, listen, the course looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
The people that live on this course, the people that I know, even my dentist that lives here, Dr. Bocciarelli, that's pulled many of my teeth. He's been telling me how gorgeous it's been playing. But they have grown out the fescue, not the frescue, not the fresca.
The word of the week.
But they have made it more challenging. They've done some things because the PGA, this is a PGA course, tells them to change it and make it more difficult. So.
Well, I think the thing people are going to notice with the fescue and some of the rougher spots, it's just grown up a little bit more. There's some situations on this course, if you've played it before, if you come out and watch the Travelers, that these guys know every roll, every bounce. And there's a couple of places, 12, which is that short par 3. It might be confusing that 11. 11 or 12, the short par 3 on the back. They've put a lot of rough where fairway used to be. Is that straight downhill? Guys would put a 50-yard loft up in the air, let it bounce, and roll about 75 yards.
From where we used to hit, it was 98 yards.
Right.
From where they hit, it's still $175 from the blacks.
So what they did is they brought that rough up. So when you land in that rough, you are not getting that roll like you got the last 17 years. That ball is going to stay put, and now you're going to be looking to try to save bogey or save par with a chip and a putt.
So you could go, like I said, you could go for the pin and miss it, and you're way off. And then you could come up short, you're in the fescue, and now you're hacking with a weed whacker.
Correct.
And you're trying to get your ball out of there, onto the green, up and down in 2 shots, which is not easy. Because it may look short, but it's still a difficult hole.
Isn't it ironic the guy who brought this up after last year's tournament was Rory McIlroy, who's not going to be a part of this tournament, as we found out yesterday. But I love the changes.
It's a big loss for the fans.
It is a loss for the fans.
We understand it's hard. Losses like that are very difficult. Some of your personal life has been out there in the publications, which is unfair to you.
And it was a tough loss on Sunday, man.
And it was a tough loss on Sunday.
That was tough. But I'm glad that he said what he said. And I know as much as people want to say, oh, that's not the reason we did any of these changes. Okay, but he kind of really pushed it and pushed the envelope when he said it publicly that this course – I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he simply said the course is way too easy. Now, he didn't win. It was Keegan Bradley who should be saying that, is the guy who actually won the tournament. But still – they did changes to make this difficult. As you were talking to Groob yesterday, Xander Schauffele's texting him that he loves the challenge now that they have done with this course and the different little things that they've done.
Well, they've moved tee boxes. There's a couple, I'll call it the Bubba Watson hole, where Bubba, being left-handed, could drive it over the houses. Now they've
Hole 9.
They've moved that tee box, so it's not as easy to do that anymore. So some of those things, I think, aesthetically – Rory should have kept his mouth shut, because now if you're having a great couple of rounds and you're looking like you're moving on a Saturday and looking like you're going to win on a Sunday, you could screw it all up with a terrible hole because you thought it was too easy.
But when you say move those tee boxes, I want people to understand it's not moving it back because there's nowhere to go back. Right. They had to adjust it to make it more difficult because of the angle that they're getting. I guess now they're so close to the house and tree line.
You have to go back towards the fairway.
Right. If you try to cut that, the loft is just not going to be there unless you use a pitching wedge, and you're only going to get tops 120 yards out of that. So when they say we've moved tee boxes, they've moved them left to right, or even sometimes forward left to right, to cut off some angles.
Is Bubba here?
Good question. No.
I don't think Bubba Watson is here.
Yeah.
That guy owns this course.
There's a lot of people that are live golfers that have owned this course now, and this is year number 2 that we have had the non-live guys there, and some guys of that ilk have now jumped over to live. So I would say no Rory as well.
I thought December they were supposed to merge the two. What happened with
that?
that?
So did the PGA
Quietly,
players, Rob.
Nobody said anything.
So did the live players, Rob. It's taking way too long, man. Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen with this, but after watching, all these majors that have everybody in it, it kind of brings us back to the good old days, back in the 2021s. Back when everybody was in the field.
Yeah, when Bobby Jones was an amateur winning everything.
But
those were the days. He was kind of like a live golfer, but with no money.
It is a wide open field this year. You would have to give nods to people like Keegan Bradley, Xander Schauffele, the 2 previous champs, guys that are successful. We typically see, as we've been doing this now for 10 years, we typically see the same names in the top 10, top 25. Denny McCarthy has some great success here. Sahith Theegala, I'd like to think he kind of broke out on the scene a couple of years ago here in Travelers. There's just guys that I think of it more as the shooter's eye, the pitcher's eye, or the batter's eye. The golfer's eye is the same thing. I think just some people like the shape of this course, and it's more appealing to their golfer's eye than it is to others. I think it's going to be a great tournament. I think the heat is definitely going to be a key factor. But I would say there's a handful of guys that can win this, and there might even be guys, like, again, back to the sports book, that are plus 1,000, plus 2,000 that are going to be great plays to actually win this thing.
I think the toughest thing, too, we were just talking about Luka, and he likes to drink his beer. Alcohol dehydrates you. And for some of these guys that may partake after a round, they may be like, listen, I can't do that. Not for the next 4 days, 5 days here, because it's going to be so taxing on you physically. And listen, I honestly, listen, as a pitcher, let's just say you're facing the Yankees and Aaron Judge is taking the day off. Now Rory McIlroy's not here and he's your competition. That's like an adrenaline shot for you. The live golfers can't golf in this tournament. So for some of these other guys, for a $20 million purse, that's a rush. Well, so you're anytime you can get an edge, whether it's taking a guy out of the lineup or whether or not it's guys aren't even allowed to play in this tournament, for the guys that are here that may not have been winning in the last few weeks or few months, this is definitely a tournament that you want to try to win that $4 million prize.
Until you brought it up, I didn't really think about it, but I can always tell where Rory McIlroy is at the Travelers Championship because I can hear it. I can be sitting here at the radio deck at the practice, and I can hear something going on behind me, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that must be Rory in the gallery that's following him. It's massive when he's out here, and he makes a good shot. Everyone on the course knows about it. If you eliminate that, you're right. Like, that is another element that's kind of wide open. I'd assume Keegan Bradley's going to have a huge following as he's our New England golfer. He's former champion, had a lot of fan favorites last year.
I think Scotty Scheffler, just because of what just happened in Louisville, he probably doubled his gallery here because of everybody's, being in the public's eye.
He just got a brand new bud, too. John Ashmead's hanging with Scotty Scheffler as we speak.
Look at that. That's awesome.
John,
and Scotty's a new dad, too. So
Ashmead, one of our producers that was out here yesterday, he's not working today, so he's taking the time just walking around the course. You mentioned to everybody.
He's harassing the golfers.
A little bit. Hopefully he's staying in his autograph picture zone, as there's designated spots where you can talk to the PGAs and designated spots where you can't. So hopefully he's adhering to that. But you said it yesterday. Tuesday, Wednesday are your best opportunities to go and get pictures with the golfers, get them to sign something for you. So they're out there practicing right now. I didn't even know Scotty was here yet. So it's great to see him trying to get dialed in to win this thing. He's obviously another one that we've seen at the top of the leaderboard even before he was winning PGA tournaments at the clip that he is right now. When he comes to Travelers, he has that eye for this place, just like a lot of the people that finish high.
Well, and the casual part of it tomorrow at the Pro-Am is these guys are going from where we are. We're right above, sitting above, kind of a bird's eye view on the practice green, on the driving range, and they never let you down to where you're allowed now. Now you can go over by the chipping green. You can go over by the players, as they're getting maybe some ice cream or coffee.
The Brew and Moo.
And you can maybe get a picture, maybe get an autograph if you're lucky. But it's a lot more casual. It's so much more fan-friendly coming back out of COVID. And so everything here is to make everybody's experience well worth it. And listen, so many of the golfers have said this, since I've been here for 10 years, say this is one of the best practice areas on tour. That having the chipping green, having the putting green, and having the driving range so close to each other, they just made it better. Like, the Brew and Moo, okay, that's one thing, but now you've got the TrackMan. The TrackMan, the fans can watch these guys as they're teeing off, and they can, help you with your game. They give you tips by just watching the TrackMan.
So true.
And so all of this stuff is to make your experience optimum. So even the most passive fan that's just out here for a day, maybe your company gave you tickets or whatever, you're going to be like, wow, this is done very well. And if I get into golf, I'd want it to be this way. This is the way it should be. and the Travelers is one of the best on tour.
So this is my 8th year. This morning I got down to the practice area and was watching everybody get warmed up and get ready, and I am blown away again by this practice area. Like, I've seen this thing 7 times before, but this year's even better than the previous. The TrackMan thing is so cool. It is a huge monster big screen. You can't see it from our camera angle here. It's on the other side of the fan shop, basically to the right of all these golfers where they're playing. And if you're a right-handed guy, you just kind of look straight, and you're going to see exactly where your shot goes. And just like you're saying, I was behind Sam Burns hitting a pitching wedge, Dibs. He's barely swinging this thing.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, barely swinging this thing. Putting it 130 about 5 yards from his aiming point. You look at the TrackMan, you look at the behind the swing, you see why this guy is perfect and consistent. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you noticed this. So the Brew and Moo, what we've been talking about, is the thing that Andy Bissett put on here last year. Brew for coffee, it's kind of like a bistro. Moo for the ice cream. It's kind of really for the kids and the families that are getting drugged to the practice area. But this is even better. Look right behind the Brew and Moo. It's our pizza truck. Our pizza guy's here. They're making pizza and just handing it out to anybody.
That's fantastic.
This place is awesome.
All right, as we go to the first Dibs question of the day, coming up next, Genesis and Milford sponsoring the Rob Dibble Show this time at Travelers. Visit Genesis and Milford. The first Genesis showroom in New England is now open at the bottom of Boston Post Road in Milford. GenesisofMilfordCT.com.